Hey guys, welcome to a Star Wars video. I just had a question. Did Mace Windu survive that fall, the day of the Jedi Purge? The question I pose for you today is, how did Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, survive his demise on Mustafar after getting 3 of his limbs chopped off, burned by lava, and left for dead near a volcano by Obi-Wan Kenobi? Was it the will of the Force, or was it his hatred for Obi-Wan? Let us keep in mind that Palpatine was all the way on Coruscant when Anakin was mutilated by Obi-Wan Kenobi. That brings me to the real question of the video. Did Mace Windu really die on the day of the Jedi Purge, where the Jedi Temple fell and all of the Jedis except for a few survived? Before we answer that question, let us keep in mind that the distance between Coruscant and Mustafar is listed as being a little over 50,000 light years apart from each other. So if Palpatine was in Coruscant while Anakin was defeated, it would have taken him a few hours at best. So how did Palpatine travel so fast when he was on Coruscant? And he stated something along the lines of, "I sense Vader is in danger." So when did he really sense Vader was in danger? Was it when the final blow was about to happen? Was it in the beginning of the duel, middle part of the duel, or was it when Anakin, aka Vader, was laying on his back and burnt alive and left for dead by Obi-Wan Kenobi? At this point, you would assume he would board the ship and travel, and his time travel would at least be 1 hour, if depending on how fast their ships are during that time period. So the epic duel between Obi-Wan and Vader, aka Anakin, would have at least ended 40 minutes before Palpatine arrived. So if Palpatine, he's on Coruscant and he has one of the fastest ships available, at least it's going to take between 20 to 40 minutes. However, according to the film's official novelization, Obi-Wan sensed that Palpatine and his men were already on the final approach to the planet after the duel had ended. So that kind of answers the question about him being 50 light years away. He was actually 50 light years apart from each other. So he was actually pretty close to Anakin and Obi-Wan. So given that Padme needed emergency medical attention, Obi-Wan decided to leave immediately rather than face the arrival of another enemy and further his delay. That means that only a few minutes passed between the end of the duel and the arrival of medical attention for Anakin or Vader at this point in time. Even so, Palpatine considers it nothing short of a miracle that he is still alive. The real miracle is when Maul fell down, chopped in half, but that's another story for another time, or maybe we will review that a little later. So it could be possible for someone like Mace Windu, who was possibly one of the top 3 strongest Jedis of his time during that time period before the Jedi Purge happened, to have survived having his limb cut off, jolted by lightning, and sent hurling through the window to his death. I think so. I believe so. However, before we can talk more about how Mace Windu survived this fall, let us understand how Anakin survived his defeat. According to the novelization of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, a flash of metal through the sky, and Obi-Wan felt the darkness closing in around them both. And I quote, "He knew that the ship, the Chancellor shuttle, now he supposed the Emperor's shuttle, Yoda, had failed. He might have died. He might have left Obi-Wan alone. The last Jedi." That's no pun intended to Episode 8. Below his feet, Darth Vader burst into flames, and he screamed, "I hate you!" Obi-Wan looked down. It would be a mercy to kill him. He was not feeling merciful. He was feeling calm and clear, and he knew that to climb down to the Black Beach might cost him more time than he had. Another Sith Lord approached. So in the end, guys, There was only one choice. It was a choice he had made many years before when he had passed his trials of Jedi knighthood and swore himself to the Jedi forever. In the end, he was still Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was still a Jedi, and he would not murder a helpless man. And that's what Anakin was at that. That's what Anakin Skywalker was at that point. He was a helpless man with one arm, burnt like a barbecue, left for dead on the Black Beach. So he would leave it to the will of the Force. He turned and walked away. After a moment, he began to run like Forrest Gump. He never looked back. So according to the novel, the Emperor arrived about the same time as Anakin. So the Emperor was pretty much maybe like 5 minutes away, I guess. So when Anakin was cut into pieces and left for dead to burn, the Emperor was already making that last stop. Obi-Wan bolted, went to Padme, and left on his ship. I guess another better example, if we're not using Anakin, would be Maul surviving a fall while being severed into 2 parts and coming back alive a decade or so later. I believe that is much more far-fetched than a Jedi Master such as Mace Windu surviving Force lightning, having a limb chopped off him, and being pushed out the window to his death. So could Mace Windu have survived without assistance from someone, or would Mace Windu require assistance from someone if he did indeed survive that fall? As I stated earlier, I believe Mace Windu did indeed survive his fall. Many Jedis before him have been struck by lightning, have survived even more gruesome, more brutal forms of death, like Darth Maul that comes to mind. An example would be when Palpatine used his Force lightning against Luke, and also when Count Dooku used his Force lightning on Anakin. An argument can be made that the Force lightning used against both Luke and Anakin were most likely non-lethal, and the Force lightning used against Mace was used with the intent to kill him. Now that is a fair assessment. The Emperor wanted to turn Luke, so he wasn't using a deadly dose of his Force lightning, and as they were going, he gradually was progressing it to kill Luke, and for Anakin, it was more like a zap push, and his clothes was like smoking. However, going back to topic, prior to Mace Windu besting Palpatine, when they were in the fight scene and Mace knocked down the Emperor, Mace had the Emperor on the floor, and the Emperor was begging for his life, and he stated that he was too weak. Now, obviously, we all know this was him, the Emperor, most likely just playing coy and making it seem to Anakin that he was some helpless, weak old man that needed assistance, needed help, before Mace Windu landed the final blow, because Mace Windu did say he was too dangerous to be kept alive. Anakin wanted him to stand trial. When Mace Windu disfigured the Emperor by deflecting the lightning back onto his body, his face, he did indeed weaken the Emperor, in my opinion. If Palpatine was truly weakened and did not have the full strength, then the chances of Mace Windu dying from the Force lightning is not so high, and possibly the only thing that could have killed him was the fall. So, if the fall did kill Mace, after all, even if Mace is a Grandmaster Jedi, he is still human. So, obviously a fall can kill him. And if a human falls from a high altitude, he will most likely die or be severely or badly injured. If Mace Windu was unconscious after getting jolted by lightning by the Emperor, the fall would have ended up killing Mace, because he wouldn't have been able to recover, kind of like a cat. When you push it, it lands on its feet. However, we have seen within episode 2, Attack of the Clones, that there are a lot of flying cars, and it's possible that Mace crashed on top of a car or quickly regained consciousness and safely landed on a vehicle or held onto some sort of ledge. I think the big question is, what, where, and how did Mace Windu land? Or did he fall on something? Or if he did indeed land on his feet, or on anything at all, was it potentially... did it kill him? Was it potential... was there a potential to kill him? So meaning, if he did fall and he was unconscious and he landed on his back, on his head, he would have cracked open his skull because he wasn't able to recover. But if he was conscious, he would have been able to fall on his feet or land on something or grab on a car, or he crashed on top of a car. I believe Mace Windu is strong enough to survive the lightning, and he is strong enough to survive getting his limb cut off. The only thing that could have possibly ended up killing Mace Windu, in my opinion, was the fall if he was knocked out, like I stated before, and if he landed on something that had the potential to end his life. However, both Samuel L. Jackson and the creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, both stated and confirmed that they believe Mace Windu did indeed survive the fall. So, if the creator of the series and the actor are both stating that Mace Windu could have survived the fall, if Maul can do it, so can Mace. So guys, if Maul survived being cut into 2 parts and his fall to the death, it was really crazy compared to Mace. You know, Mace Windu actually has survived his fall. The best example to use is Maul. He was cut up like literally almost above his waistline, or like right on his waistline. He tumbled, he even banged on the side of the wall, and he just hurled all the way down. I mean, come on, the guy lived without peeing or anything like that. He was cut really bad. So if Maul can survive that type of gruesome defeat, I think Mace, with a little hand, arm chopped off, struck by lightning, falling out the window, I think he could have survived. The only issue we have with Mace Windu surviving, or probably not an issue at all, depending on what happened to him during the events of the Jedi Purge leading up to Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, we do indeed hear his Force ghosts. We hear his voice to Rey. Mace Windu is speaking to Rey during the final scenes. Sorry if I spoiled it for anybody. So I do believe as long as the sequels are alive, around, or well, it will be hard to imagine Mace Windu surviving after hearing his voice, unless he was killed later on by Boba Fett, or perhaps Vader, or someone else before Episode 9, or even possible that Mace Windu died from old age, just like Master Yoda. So I guess it all depends. Did Mace Windu die during the Jedi Purge? Did Mace Windu die after the Jedi Purge, before Episode 9? Or is Disney going to scrap the sequels? And, as long as the sequels are alive, well, and strong, like I said, it's hard to imagine Mace Windu alive. So if Disney does scrap the sequels, then the chances of Mace Windu being alive are stronger. But like I said before, Mace Windu could be alive if the sequels stick around, and probably will most likely perish before the events of 7, 8, and 9. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Take care.